So, arguments and parameters. I've already mentioned the term parameter, and the argument is a sort of a related term. They kind of mean slightly different things, but they're often used interchangeably. So when we call this function or invoke it means we use the function, call it, we give it some information, we give it the string answer with a colon, and we give it the variable combination, whatever's stored in there. And those are known as arguments. So arguments are the things that we give to the function so it can do its job. It's nothing to do with disagreement. It's a technical name for the information that we pass into the function. And depending on how the function is written, the function can have lots of arguments. It can have one argument. It can have sometimes no arguments at all. We'll see examples of those things a bit later on. From the function's point of view, the information that's given to it is known as parameters. So these are the things that it needs to do its job. In this case, it's text and combination. Okay, so it's essentially the same thing, but if you're thinking about it from the function's point of view, it's the parameters that are given to the function. If you're thinking about it as calling a function or invoking a function, it's the arguments that you give to the function. Again, in this case, there are two parameters, one named text and one named combination. But the names and the text is, was the answer with the colon, and the combination was called combination in the when we invoke the function. But those things don't need to match. Okay, we'll see later that you can call them whatever you like inside the function. They're kind of locally inside the function. They can be called whatever you want. Function can have several parameters, or sometimes it has none at all. Again, we'll see examples of that shortly. And these words, argument and parameter, are often used interchangeably. As you can imagine, they kind of mean the same thing, but just from a different perspective. Strictly speaking, parameter is the variable in the declaration of the function, and argument is the actual value that's passed into the function when it's called. So obviously that can change. The arguments can change because I can use the same function with different arguments. Parameters is what the function is, or what it's declared when the function is written. But people use them interchangeably, so don't be surprised if I do too. Okay. So let's look at how we can then change our code a little bit. Now, the first version of output is a bit misleading. So the one we've already used, it's a bit misleading, as it suggests that the first parameter has to be some text and the second has to be some kind of combination. So there's the code for it. We've said text and combination, but actually, strictly speaking, it doesn't matter what they are. They can be anything. And we can make that more clearer with a generic version where we just say we just need 2 bits of information. In order for this function to run, we just need 2 bits of information, and they get printed into a string separated by a space. Okay. And now that makes this function, I mean, it doesn't change what the function does, but it sort of makes it more generic, because we could pass it to strings, we could pass it to numbers, we could pass it to booleans. All of those things would have worked before, but now it's clearer that whatever is being passed just gets printed into the string. It doesn't matter whether it's text or a number. So, for example, here's 4 examples of that output function being used. Okay, we can do the standard one that we've already done. So we say answer with a colon, and then the output will put a space in and put the combination, or we could reverse that. We could give it the number first and say combination. That's the the calculation it's done. The calculator's just done is the answer. Or we can say, is this version better? Yes, I think so. So we just pass in 2 strings, or we can say this version is better. True. We can pass in strings, booleans. We can pass in numbers. It doesn't matter. Okay, string and integer string, 2 strings, string and a boolean. And if I ran that code, this is the 4 bits of things text that gets printed out. Answer 4. 4 is the answer. Is this version better? Yes, I think so. And this version is better. True. Okay, so that's just to make it clear that it really doesn't. Although in the first version we call them text and combination doesn't matter. They can, Python sort of doesn't care what they are. Right, I'm going to finish that video here, and then what we'll look at in a minute is hiding away the details of the input.